Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time to join us on today's book launch. And my name is Jim Howard. I'm the publisher for Morgan James Publishing. And today we've got a couple of authors for you. We were talking with Kathy and Victor Brook, and they are the authors of Timeless, The Journey to Discover Life's Greatest Secret. Kathy and Victor, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Looking forward.
Man. Yeah, and I'm excited about this one as well, because this is one of my favorite types of books. I shared with you earlier, I'm waiting for my copy to get here. I'm the publisher and I'm waiting for my copy to get here. That doesn't make sense. But I love allegories. I love books with a purpose and a message. And your book has all of that. So what's Timeless about?
Well, it's interesting. I think as you start writing, at least for us being newbies, we really didn't know what it was going to be about. And I think ultimately it kind of became, a real living thing. And so it's really about an archaeologist, an explorer at heart, who goes on a journey to kind of understand what we're here for. What's our reasoning? What's the meaning of life and all the human experience and that sort of thing. And throughout that, he makes some interesting discoveries. And so he gets to go to all these great places, these ancient civilizations all over the world, to where he learns some lessons. And throughout that, we learned some lessons. It was kind of cool writing it. And so, yeah, that's really what Timeless is about. It has some funny parts and it has some touching, meaningful parts as well.
So let me add to that. The first chapter, when you get into it, you're going to find you don't know what is going on because you're in the mind of this, professor. And so we've asked our children as they read it, we're going, so what did you think? And the first thing that comes off of it, they're going, lots of questions. What is this? Where are you going? And then they went, that's my daddy's head. That's how he thinks. And it is, it's like when you're going on a travel and you're going over here and you're packing and then you're thinking about something else and you want to go, so your mind is just fluttering. And so get through that first chapter and then you're moving through a journey that's really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah. I think initially, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, well, go ahead.
No, initially, we were really, because we're in this fitness business and we're in sports business and all our kids were college athletes. And so we're kind of fitness nuts, if you will. And so I think initially that was kind of the thought, is that we'd write something about how to be healthy, how to live, more of a wellness journey. And this other thing just took over. And ultimately, it'll be interesting to see how many people think that's what it's about. Right. It might get back to the fitness thing. It might get back to the life balance story. But an allegory, but wasn't even in the concept at all. It was more of a do this, don't do that, And
we thought about that at the beginning of doing more of that type of book.
Yeah.
And then we were going, we don't want to do that. That'll come later. And then Victor really started exploring, let's just go on this journey. Let's just take this person and see where he goes by using all of our notes from health and fitness and what his transformation and what I do, and it just really kind of exploded into this neat journey.
And it was more fun. It was more fun to write something about, some fantasy, but incorporate some realness too. Like, can I age 6 months a year? Is that possible? Can you have some effects on time, or all of us just kind of, distributed this life clock? And it just ticks off 1 second at a time for all of us. And there's no difference for any of us. And the book kind of takes you on that journey to find out for yourself.
Yeah. And it's amazing when you have those stories inside and you don't even know they exist, but they're just bursting to get out, and you start putting it together. And the journey that it takes you on as the author can be just as rewarding and fulfilling, if not more, than what you're going to take that reader on. And that's an amazing feeling when you get to that point.
Yeah, we had said it'd be interesting, we probably will sell one book at least, because we'll buy it. And but it didn't really matter whether we did or not, because the experience we had together writing it, you know, whether it was Sunday mornings over a cup of coffee, going over our notes and talking about things. And it wasn't something that just came, even though it only took a year to write the book, actually to write it. It's a, you know, a multi-decade journey of notes and coordination or a culmination of events in our lives that we've experienced. And so it comes out on paper, which is kind of fun.
And the information is true.
Yeah.
All of the information in here, even though it's this fantasy of this man going through this journey, actually in the beginning, we didn't want you to know whether it was a man or a woman, but it had to take on a form because we wanted it to be, we wanted the reader to take that form and be that person and kind of really be drawn into the book. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it started.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. So you touched on it a little bit, but like what inspired you to even start this journey, especially with Timeless? I mean, what was the big inspiration behind it? And, you know, one of the chapters of the books you talk about before and again, and just give us a little taste of what that means.
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting. You know, we have 4 kids, and you know, a lot of guys can relate to this. You know, mama gets pregnant, has the baby, and then she stayed thin again afterwards. Daddy didn't. He kept the baby weight, and so it happened. You know, being a former athlete,
he never knew he did. He never thought that he did.
Being a former athlete, I was like, you know, what, you know, can I ever get that back? Can I get back to a form of fitness and shape? And it took a long time. It's been 20 years probably, not really getting in the health shape that I wanted to get into. And so a lot of it became like, you know, it's before and after thought process relative to, you know, you here's the before picture and then the after picture. And I'm just deep down, we're like, why does it have to be before and after? Why couldn't I just be that guy? Why couldn't I be that person that I always dreamed that I was, and in my dreams wanted to be? And so it evolved into this before and again concept. And so, you know, the inspiration was, believe it or not, you know, 5, 7, maybe even as much as 10 years ago now, I came up on a revelation, literally reading one of Kathy's books on our nightstand. And it just really impacted me, and I started changing. And not only did I start, you know, getting trimmer and fitter physically and on the outside, I started getting fitter and trimmer as a balanced way of life. And that's kind of what the 4 pillars are about in the book. So before and again, it's just like, why can't you be that person that you always dreamed about being? And
why do you have to define yourself? Why do you have to be defined as a person who you're 45, 50 years old and you don't feel that way? So why do you have to define yourself as that number?
Yeah.
You know, why can't you define yourself by the way that you've taken care of yourself or the way that you feel or the journey that you're on in your whole life? So Victor made a big transformation, and I think that was a big catapult for us to go forward with this book as far as, you know, health and fitness. I've done this all my life, and so I could never talk to my husband and tell him how to stay fit. I had to zip my mouth and let him figure it out on his own, and he did. He did. As a matter of fact, I have to say this. He had been reading a book of mine, this book that changed his life, and he would ask me questions like, how do you do this? Or have you ever done that? And I said, who are you seeing? Where are you going? Because you wouldn't be asking me these questions unless you're seeing a trainer somewhere. And who is that trainer? Because he was like asking me very specific questions. So it's been a neat journey for us too.
You know, one of the things, one of our philosophies is age 6 months a year. And every time we say that, it's interesting response. Most people go, they just literally kind of take the little left head nod, like, what? Age 6 months a year, what does that mean? And I think that it's a societal thing that we believe that, you know, the clock ticks 1 second and then our life clicks 1 second. And there's a lot of factors that we do in our life that impact both internally and externally how we see things and how we experience things. And I think that's an element that we've laid out in the book, but more importantly, I think we try to live And it's, it's a journey. It takes a long time to take a very simple stage and just build one level after the other towards getting there. But it's also kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think we see that all the time through life, right? We see people who jump on a diet fad and they want to see that result overnight, or they read a personal development book and they want to implement what's in that book and they want to see a change instantly. And they don't realize that, sometimes it takes time for you to figure out that path and realize who you are and build on those stepping stones, just like it does for anything that we train for in life. It takes time to figure all of that out. And once you do, and you put yourself on that path, you can start seeing results, and those results add to other results. But then all of a sudden there's that shift, and you start seeing the reversal of some of that aging, or the reversal of some of those toxic issues.
That's right.
You find yourself in a whole new space at that point, right?
Absolutely. One of our chapters is called dating advice. And, it's that whole concept of year after year where we set goals. Like we talk about the New Year's, the reference to the New Year's resolution that we have. And so many millions of people do every year. And I'm going, did they believe that when they made it? Because by February, the New Year's resolution has already kind of gone by the wayside, or a lot of times, not always, but did they really believe it? Were they passionate about it? Yeah, they were probably in tears sometimes, thinking, I really want this year to be the year that I make a change. And we get into talking about it in a real fun way, in an enjoyable way, not just to do this, don't do that, which that's fine. Those are great books. That's the next book. But to really enjoy experiencing what it's like to understand how to own that process. And if you can get to the point where you can truly own the process. For instance, I love to run and I love to work out. And it used to be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or early evening, finishing doing whatever you've been doing for the day or work, you're tired, and you go, oh, I haven't worked out yet. Oh, I haven't run yet. And it just weighs on you, right? Today, it's something I can't wait to do. But that took a lot of simple changing that we get into in the book too, that makes it actually kind of fun and becomes a way of life, or a true conditioning process.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. So what's the hope? What's the message that you hope the reader gets through reading Timeless? And the subtitle of this book is The Journey to Discover Life's Greatest Secret. So what's that secret?
Well, I guess you're going to have to read it to find out, right? Right? We're all on a different journey. I mean, we're all on a special journey of life, I think. And so, I deal with so many people, all ages. A lot of my clientele are 50 and above. And I mean, I think through living with them, dealing with them on a day-to-day basis, I have learned so much. It's just like a wealth of information inside of me. So I think for the reader, I hope that you can get to the end of the book and you can take a really big, deep breath, because I make all of my clients at the end of their sessions sit down and we breathe and we really think about life and take that one moment that we will never take in our days, to just sit still and breathe. And so I hope that at the end of the book, everybody takes one breath. And if you get one question answered in your life, I don't care. You go through all this, we're going from country and all over the place. I mean, this traveler's going all over the place.
Ancient civilizations.
And he's going basically through time in his own body. But if you get to the end of this and you say, wow, I haven't thought about that. Yeah. Or I want to go down the path I always wanted to go down. I just kind of put it aside for a while, because you can do whatever you want to do. So it's a very encouraging book in the end. So you have to get to the end of it to see what your journey is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to getting to the end of it. And I know people out here watching us today are just dying to get their hands on this book. And I can't wait for them to do that and see the impact that it has on their lives. Because I love what you guys said. If one person, buys this book, gets that impact, and then their life's changed, then all the work, all the effort that you've done is worth it. And we know it's going to impact way more than one person. So I can't wait to see the impact that this book has. But I know people out watching us today are, they're probably wondering, well, what can I do right now? How can I find out more? How can I get connected? So what's the best way for them to find out more, or to connect with you guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can go to the website. It's timelessthebook.com, and on Instagram at timelessthebook. So they'll be, and we're have our regular social media posting and lots of information that is there now, and more that will continue to come throughout the years ahead. And we looked at this just like we looked at writing the book, and more importantly, like we looked at it relative to ultimately telling the story, which is, even though it's an allegory and it has lots of fantasy and mixture of science and real history and spirituality and all sorts of things involved. It's a fun blend. It's really been a neat journey for us. We're the ones looking at each other saying, hey, we learned a lot by writing this book and sharing it with one another, and
sharing it with our family too. It's been amazing, as watching your children grow and become amazing adults. We've really, that's our life. If you ever asked anyone who is Victor and Kathy Brook, and they'll say they've got an amazing family. They're family people, and so that inspired this whole thing, I think. It really did. So
that's amazing.
We hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
That is amazing. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for, I think for just listening, right? Starting down a journey. A lot of times people have a real difficult time when they go in one direction and all of a sudden they're told to go in a different. They don't want to listen, or they don't follow, or they dismiss it. You guys were going to write a book, and it would have been a great book, but you guys said, no, there's a different direction. There's this new life, this new thing that we don't even fully understand yet, but you did it anyway, and you've produced this incredible, amazing story. So thank you for following through with that and putting this together, and just taking the time to share with us today and letting people know that it exists and what it's about and how it can impact them.
Well, I want to thank you guys too. Victor and I both do. Y'all have been amazing at guiding us through this whole process, and so thank you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with Morgan James. You guys are first class. You deliver exactly as you say you will. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you for that. That means a ton, coming from an author who's right there at the cusp now, with the book being ready to release and get into the hands of the world. And we're all excited for you, and are just honored to be a part in your journey. So
thank you so much.
Jim.
Thank you guys for watching, and you can get a copy of Timeless anywhere books are sold, online, offline, anywhere you want to shop, your favorite place to shop for books. It'll be available, and you can grab a copy. And I encourage all of you to do it, because it doesn't matter. Here's the thing about life. Life happens in stages, right? We start out young, we get to our 20s, and there's a whole transformation in our 20s. We get to our 30s, and there's another whole transformation. We get to our 40s, and there's another whole transformation. But in those transformations, we oftentimes, and how we decide, how we believe, what we do, what we don't do, the choices that we make, we determine how we live in those phases. And this book, I think, is going to open your eyes to some new ways to looking at life that says, no matter what phase of the journey you're in, you can always have that picture of who you want to be and who you should be, and get a path and make a path and take the actions to get there. And I am so excited about this book, and I hope you grab a copy and find your journey to becoming timeless. Kathy, Victor, man, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. We enjoyed it.
And thank you guys out there watching today, and we hope to see you on our next one.